Well, to assess the general state of the Nigerian economy in the light of the Senate's recent decision to extend the validity of the 2024 national budget for a second time, Economist Idika Kalu joins me now. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, you did hear the conversations on the floor of the Red Chamber. Even the senators seem not convinced enough why this budget should be extended for another time, another period. But what does that say about the state of the Nigerian economy? What is going on here? Why do we need to extend our budget? Is this a cause for alarm?
Okay, thank you very much. The budget actually is a plan of expected income and expected expenditure. And so, like I always say, you can have a balanced budget. That means your income matches your expenditure. Mm-hmm. You can have a surplus budget. That's when your revenue exceeds your expenditure. But you will have a deficit budget when your expenditure far outweighs your revenue. And the Nigerian budget is a deficit budget. And so it's anchored on financing, debt financing. And so if your budget has been extended twice, what signal do you get? Paucity of funds. You don't have sufficient funds. Mm-hmm. And that is why the federal government goes borrowing every now and then. So, and it's getting alarming now among financial experts that, the country may eventually slide into the debt trap. When you're in the debt trap, it means you get hooked. It's difficult to pull out of it. And that is when your sovereign debts may go into default. And internationally, that would be a very bad case. That when you cannot honor your obligations, then countries will not invest with you anymore because you will now be a good debtor, that is really, really trapped in the debt trap. And so you can see it from the borrowings to fund projects. I will tell you that, yes, if you look at certain indices, you will find out that really in terms of revenue generation, the country is doing well. Yeah?
But apparently not well enough.
No, exactly. What I'm saying is that revenue targets given to agencies of government are being exceeded. Mm-hmm. All right? The customs, immigration. Look at Nigerian Post Authority. They had a target of 865 billion last year. This year, they're looking at 1.25 trillion.
Indeed.
Okay. What happened to the deregulation of foreign exchange market and the removal of subsidy of 2024? The government realized about $84 billion. And so what happened to all those monies? One, the excuse they gave is that it went into infrastructure, road construction. There's also debt payments. And of course, FAC has increased. FAC was about 16.15 trillion in 2023, but it has moved up to 15.24 in 2024. So the states and local governments have more money. So do these monies impact on the welfare, the general well-being of the citizens?
That's $1 billion
the big
question.
Problem.
Indeed. But when you hear that it is the capital component
Yes.
of the budget that has been extended,
yes.
Does it make things any better? Does it make it any different? And does this point to flexibility or failure?
It's failure. It's more of failure because your expectation to drive the capital component has failed. That's what it is. You have revenue that you need to generate for capital expenditure, because when you look at the budget, you have recurrent income and recurrent expenditure. You have capital income and capital expenditure. So those two must match. So capital expenditure must come from your capital income, whatever it's investments that you get, borrowings, whatever, to fund your capital expenditure. And borrowing is a very big component as far as Nigeria is concerned now. Okay, so and that is why the federal government has been borrowing. But one thing I would like to stress is that you see, it's not bad to borrow, but you must plow the funds into projects that are, one, technically feasible, that are economically viable, that are financially self-liquidating, and they are socially desirable.
So what are the implications of this when it's the capital component? And can Nigeria afford to keep delaying the fiscal calendar, without any long-term damage?
It's an aberration because budgets are annual plans. So what that means is that the plans for 2024 has not been fulfilled, and they are pushing it into 2025. It's an aberration. It should not be so, because the budget is a plan, okay, and you must execute it within a specific time frame. So we should be talking of the 2025 appropriation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
How does this affect the 2025? Are we likely to see the same thing?
You are not done with 2024, so it's like you are going to push 2025 to 2026. It's availability of funds. You see, Nigeria has been a little bit lucky because the country has ramped up oil production, and so it has helped in terms of revenue. If you look at the GDP moved from 3% as at December 2024 to 3.7, okay? And it was as a result of increase in oil production. And now Nigeria's case may be helped with the Israeli-Iran conflict because there's going to be supply chain disruptions. And in fact, the early June, the price of oil was $70 per barrel, okay? And now, because of this conflict, it has gone up to $81.4 per barrel. That was on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, it moderated a little to $77 per barrel. But there is the belief that as this conflict stretches, it's going to get over $90 per barrel. And that will be to the advantage of the federal government.
Well, we are seeing calm in the Middle East. At the moment, the strikes have ceased.
Exactly.
But, you're hoping that Nigeria will benefit from that.
Okay.
Are we stuck in a cycle of extensions and delays? And how do we get out of it? Is it just revenue? Is it a problem of revenue and returning to the calendar cycle of the budget?
Yeah, we are really stuck. And when you have a problem, you know how there must be a means of solving that problem. Medically, there is something they call orthostatic hypotension. What that means is that if you stand for a long while, blood percolates on your lower limbs. And because you are not moving, the pressure doesn't come up to get oxygenated and get the brain functioning. So normally people trip when that happens. People fall. You see people in a column, maybe they are marching or whatever, and they fall. People go and raise the person that has fallen and sit him up and pour maybe cold water on his head. That is not the problem. His problem is that blood is not going to his brains. So all you need to do is to slant him. Allow the blood that is in the lower limbs to come up to the head, and he will just revive. That's the solution. Why I'm using this example is that you must use the appropriate solutions for your problem. And in this instance, the problem of the federal government is that they are not having sufficient revenue to execute their...
So we need a financial CPR revenue solution to this matter.
Exactly.
Mr. Idika Kalu Umar is a banker, economist, and the MD of...
GAPS Financial Services Limited.
Thank you so much for being on Newsnight and sharing your thoughts. We do appreciate your time.